big, ugly bill. This disgusting abomination, the GOP tax scam that guts Medicaid, rips food from the mouths of children, seniors, and veterans, and rewards billionaires with massive tax breaks.
That's Hakeem Jeffries on the House floor voicing his opposition to the atrocity of a bill. They've been going all night long, and not in the good way, in the bad way. Well, in the good way, I guess, but not the fun way. Trying to oppose what it is that Trump is doing so terribly for the American people, and Republicans are just falling like dominoes. So many of them, it's really cringy. Go out there on TV and I have real concerns and Trump's going to have to... And then Trump either calls them or brings them into the Oval Office and they walk out, tail between their legs and say, you know, I know. I said the whole thing about how this is going to ruin the lives of my constituents and it's going to cause future generations to have too much debt. But I didn't realize that there was actually a subsidy for a specific type of ketchup that I like. And that really pushed me over the edge. So I'm for it now. And what I said in a segment yesterday is that I have had lots of criticisms for Democrats not meeting the moment. And I think that we need the strongest possible Democratic Party in a moment like this. And Chuck Schumer sending strongly worded letters isn't exactly what I was thinking of. But this is a clear juxtaposition that demonstrates while those criticisms stand and are important, there is no equivalency between these two parties. Hakeem Jeffries has now been on the House floor for let's see, let me get the number here. 5 hours. Over 5 hours. The longest House floor speech was 8 hours and 30 minutes. Standing there, knowing that ultimately when he eventually dies or something, when he eventually has to stop speaking or has to go to the restroom, nature calls, then Republicans are going to pass this. There's a bunch of procedural things. They've gotten through all those hurdles. This is the last thing, and eventually, after the Democrats finish opposing it, Republicans are going to end up passing in the House. That's just what's going to happen. It's terrible. That means millions of people are going to lose their health care. Millions of people are going to lose their food benefits, all in service of tax cuts for the rich. Medicare's losing funding. That part I haven't emphasized enough. What? They're just attacking the third rail of politics. And so that is what's going to happen, but at least Democrats are showing. Some people go, why would they do this if they know it's going to pass? No. This isn't about they're going to convince their colleagues to not pass the bill. This is about making sure as much attention as possible is given to the F-up of all F-ups that Trump is leading here, the disaster that Trump is leading here. I do apologize. Welcome, everybody, to the morning show. I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that I'm here, frankly. I'm happy that Cole's here. Sad that Jaden's not here. The reason we started so late today is because I woke up with a show prepped, not knowing that this was going to be happening. So many things developed overnight as the Capitol was very busy all throughout the night. Let's check back in a little bit more on Hakeem Jeffries' speech opposing this monstrosity, atrocity, abomination.
This bill represents the largest cut to health care in American history. It's an all-out assault on the health care of the American people, an assault on Medicaid, an assault on Medicare, an assault...
Yeah. Exactly. As the clip is glitching out, you can take that down. By the way, if you're listening on podcast platforms, we do post the show on podcast platforms in full. Please do remember to review the show. That would be very helpful. Tracy said, lots of love, Luke and team from Ontario, Canada. Thank you. And as always, if you're watching live and you become a member whilst we are live by clicking the join button on YouTube, I will thank you like you deserve to be thanked. And here is the recount posting. Hakeem Jeffries has been speaking for 5 hours now, since 4:53 a.m. in the morning, as Democrats stall the final passage of Trump's big, beautiful bill, or I think they're calling it the big, ugly bill. Call it what you want. a scam, etc.
Thomas H. Kane Jr., every single one of these signatories voted for a House bill that undermined the clean energy economy, noted that it would hurt their own constituents, voted for the bill anyway, and then begged the Senate to make a difference. That's not how we should be legislating.
This keeps happening. It's a great point. And Cole, just give me a sign if it looks like our Wi-Fi is giving us trouble, because I'm seeing some strange things. All good as of now on my end. But this is something Republicans did multiple times. You remember Marjorie Taylor Greene proudly voted for the bill in the House when it was originally passed, and then said, wait, hey, listen, there's like some really bad stuff in it. Senate, can you take that out? You could take it out. The AI provision ended up being taken out, but that was the part that she was really upset with. And then I saw, I think it might have been Murkowski, after she voted for it, said, I hope the House will make it better. What? Stop passing the buck, please. Dan Goldman said, so this is where we are. Number one, the House GOP tried to ram through a terrible 1,000-page bill in 24 hours without any idea if they could pass it. Two, now GOP leadership's holding the vote open indefinitely while they try to bribe holdouts to vote for it. This is GOP governance. So this is what we've been seeing, which is that you get all the people who are yes men, right? You count those votes. This is really disappointing, seeing my computer's lack of performance. Oh no, guys, we're going to do our best here, but sometimes the internet universe attacks us. They say, who's absolutely going to say yes that we don't really have to beg? And then they go to the people who are saying they're against it, and they don't fundamentally change the parts that those folks have an issue with. Guys, this is scary. Let me see here. This next clip is just not queuing. Oh no. Yeah, see if anything's off. But they go to the folks and they don't change fundamentally the bill. They just give those individual people goodies. All right, we're not going to not rip away healthcare for millions, but we can give you some specific benefit for your district. And that's how they've won over these votes. Bilbo Jenkins said, Luke, can you get both feet behind? Okay. Just, guys, we have important things going on. We're talking about my flexibility? Really? Gunboat said Hakeem APAC Shakur Jeffries is just clip farming for a 2028 run. I don't think Hakeem Jeffries running for president. I don't think that's happening. Jared Frank said, I'm thirsty yet tired. Any suggestions? I'm thirsty yet tired. Drink some water and take a nap. That's the best that I can give you. Well, I really wanted to show you Tim Burchett, but my computer's refusing. Trump was posting, for Republicans, this should be an easy yes vote. Ridiculous. Now, it's going to be an easier yes vote than it should be, but it shouldn't. They're going to vote pretty easily on it, is my point, compared to the opposition that should be present. Yeah, he's now, Hakeem Jeffries is now up to 6 hours. Now, guys, if you've been watching the show regularly, to the person who said, like, oh, he's just clip farming, yes, exactly. I saw a poll about how many Americans have even heard of this bill, and it's a shockingly low number. And then of those, how many have even heard of the Medicaid cuts, and it's a sliver of that sliver. Clip farming, getting mainstream media to talk about, he's crossed 6 hours. Because while, to their credit, mainstream media has brought up the cuts, to spread a message of something that's not as flashy as someone shouting on the House floor, you got to have some element of virality to it. And him trying to go for a super long speech, kind of like Cory Booker did, you're right, it in and of itself doesn't accomplish anything. But it does get more attention on the subject. And we say to Democrats often, why aren't you opposing? Oppose. Why aren't you fighting Republicans? But then often people's response when they do at least something is to say that's just clip farming. Well, they're in the minority, so yeah, they can't really do that much. They don't have control of the House or the Senate or the White House, so they have to just do things that are for show, mostly. And remember, I'll just keep putting this up. This is the outcome of the bill right here. Bottom 20% loses. You have some modest gains, or lower 20%. So the bottom and the lower 20% also loses. And then some modest gains for the middle and upper class. And then huge gains for the richest. It's sick. It's absolutely sick. And on another component of this, the whole debt piece, as we continue to follow what's going on in the House floor during this live stream. Again, thank you to everyone joining right now. Republicans are on the record as saying the greatest threat to humanity, is the debt. And now they're going to add maybe one of the highest amounts in any single bill ever to the debt.
The number one threat to our nation right now is our debt. It's not China, Russia, Iran, or North Korea. It's the debt. And we take that very seriously. Congress has kicked the can down the road for decades, and we're out of road. The number
Well, I have breaking news for you. He found more road. That's the good news. Mike Johnson found more road. Let me see if I can get this. Please, for the love. Yes, here we go. Now we're in business, everybody. Here is Tim Burchett saying the CBO, we can't trust the CBO. And then the CNN host goes, oh, interesting. I have a quote from a Republican that says we should force every bill to be publicly explained in CBO estimate terms. Do you know who that Republican was?
You don't like them, and you've got a bunch of bureaucrats in here that are on a lifetime gravy train. And frankly, we've got independent agencies that can do that. We have people up here with accounting degrees that can do the math. So I feel like that is a waste of taxpayers' money.
So in January 2024, there was a Republican who trusted the CBO so much that they reintroduced a resolution to require the House clerk to read the CBO estimate of any bill. I believe that was you, sir. The third time you introduced that resolution, is that right?
That's correct, ma'am. Of course, and that proves
but
just
you
what
don't
I
like
said.
the CBO now,
ma'am.
But you don't like the CBO now. You introduced that resolution over multiple years, but now you're dissing the CBO.
That's correct, ma'am. Did you not see my social media video? Trump told me he likes me on television, so I'm good. I'm good for the bill now.
Years, but now you're dissing the CBO.
Did the bill pass?
Your resolution?
Did the bill pass? Yes, ma'am.
You introduced it, sir.
I know,
it's
ma'am,
irrelevant.
They never pass because nobody wants any verification. It proves my point. When it serves us well,
you took a stance and you were
we're for it, but when it doesn't, we don't. So
you're clear about where you are on the.
I'm not a hypocrite because I'm telling you I'm a hypocrite. What? Wait. Is this Breonna Keeler? Yes, Breonna Keeler. Breonna. You can't tell me I'm a hypocrite. I just told you I'm only going to like the CBO when it fits my narrative. That's a funny thing to admit. He's like, right, that's what I said. I don't like it now because it reveals how bad the bill is. That's so brutal. So you would think, ooh, if you would think that Tim Burchett would go, oh, that wasn't the best appearance I've ever had. Do you know what he described it as? My wife had spaghetti for supper. I had some CNN. He ate CNN up for dinner. Let's see what clip he posted.
is very clear about how
Yes,
many
ma'am.
people are going to be kicked off of health care until you were against the CBO.
No, ma'am. You listen. If you want to do the editorial, just go ahead, and you don't need me on here. But the
These
CBO,
are facts, sir. I don't have to editorialize.
Scores. I would like to see what the economic output of every bill. You as a taxpayer should want that too. And the CBO is the only organization we have.
Bruh. You're the one arguing the CBO is not accurate. Now he's about to say, I would prefer it be an independent group. Well, that's the point of the CBO. So that you can create an institution funded by the government, but specifically nonpartisan, that is tasked with overseeing and making estimates and analyzing legislation before you pass it. Yes. So you were advocating that back when it was Democrats. Now you don't want it because it's you.
Want that too. And the CBO is the only organization we have. If I could allow a private accounting firm to do it, I would much rather that happen. But the reality is it would have to be the CBO. And what do you have against knowing how much each bill is spent? Why does the media oppose that? Why do you all on the left always fight every chance at America knowing what's going on? The problem y'all have with this bill, ma'am, is that it gets government out of our way and lets Americans make some decisions. And maybe hardworking Americans would have a better choice and a better shot at life in this country without you all just telling us how bad things are going and trying to construct, and as you're doing with me, trying to dictate what I've said.
Silly Bebo said, I remember when Glenn Beck had a debt clock on his show when Obama was president. I used to believe that mess. Now, the thing is we should be concerned about the debt. Now, the whole, debt clock, this many days till doom's debt day or whatever, is a little much if you understand a little bit more how it all works. It's not like China can just go, and now we say, you're bankrupt. Arr, what are you going to do, China? Come at me, China. But it is a concern, and we waste a bunch of money paying our interest. So, but the problem that maybe to the point made by that commenter, Brittany, maybe the point that you're making is that it used to be that a lot of people assumed the Republicans were the party that took it more seriously. But then you realize, it's them disproportionately fueling the problem, as we've looked at the analyses of. If you remove emergency time spending, like the pandemic, whether it was a Republican or Democrat, we were going to go into a lot of debt to get out of that. And that's why both Trump and Biden contributed. Or the Great Recession. A lot of these economic downturns that started under Republicans. If you remove those, then the primary fueler of our debt problem over the last few decades has been Republican tax cuts. And so they always tell us we have to gut programs to deal with the debt problem. It's just not true. It's just not true. Now, if there's wasteful spending, let's find it, let's remove it, of course. But dismantling programs people rely on because you're saying it's necessary for the debt used to be something we actually kind of thought Republicans meant. We thought they were serious about it. And then you learn, it's a total facade, because every time they're in power, they're even worse than Democrats when it comes to the debt. But they're triple times worse because Democrats are more likely to contribute to the debt, to increase the deficit on causes that at least we would find valuable. So at least in the short term, while there is the debt problem, you're seeing real benefits, and there actually is, through the more likelihood that Democrats will engage in demand-side economic stimulation that can bring in more revenue, the argument they make falsely with their trickle-down economics, whereas Republicans are willing to worsen the problem on something that nobody wants, tax cuts for the rich. I'm sorry if I'm missing super chats. Liam says, use the force, Luke. Very good. Concerned K said you should look up the tumble that occurred when Senator Lisa Murkowski, Alaska bailout lady, was receiving an award at a Chevron lobbyist gala. The tumble. I would just never make fun of a tumble, but let's watch. I just never say, you fell you fell down like your career's going to, I wouldn't say that. Murkowski fall. Chevron. I feel like I saw this, but takes heat. It's not popping up quickly. I'll maybe we'll stick that into a different segment. If she got hurt, I feel bad. And I don't mean to make light of that at all whatsoever in any way. And so, yeah, I do. It is one of the things that I really like my job. I love all of you. And despite the dark times, I think we find ways to have a lot of fun still. One thing that can make me want to just quit and stick my head right down into the toilet forever. That sounds like I'm saying something suicidal. That's not what I mean. I'd love to drown myself in my own toilet. You know that feeling? Do you know when something in politics makes you wish that you could stick your face in your own feces? Have you ever had that urge to stick your face in your own feces and then you die? Well, let me tell you what gives me that urge. Whenever I talk to people, like all of the time, and they say, listen, I don't have a problem with the gays. They'll often start with that. I'll go, okay. And they'll go, but I'm fiscally conservative. And I'll say, really? What do you mean by that? And they say, listen, I just think our debt problem's out of control, and I want the economy to do well. And Republicans are the ones with a better record on those things. So I get it. Trump tried to steal an election. I get it. For reproductive rights, for the gays. But I want the economy to do well. And that's the moment when I say, okay, let me go have a really big meal, a few burritos, toss in some Getty's pizza, a nice tub of Bluebell, and then go to the restroom, big time, big league, and then stick my face in it until I die. That's what makes me feel that way. Because, of course, Democrats over the last century have overseen better economic performance than Republicans. There's not a debate there. That's just the raw data, okay? And similarly, they have a better record on debt and deficits. But Americans don't know that, mostly. So when you say Hakeem Jeffries, who I don't find him to be the ideal leader for the party in the House, to be clear, if you haven't seen my show. But in a moment where I think we need to have max heat on Republicans, and Democrats are the ones with the correct position here. They're not saying, well, we kind of like some cuts. They're not splitting the difference. They're clear. Then I'm going to credit him with at least being on the House floor opposing it. Because I want more people to be shouting everywhere they possibly can. Now, why Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer? No, Chuck, don't do this. I don't want to see you on a podcast. But everyone else, I want AOC. I want Bernie. I want... Who else? Who else do we want to see? Any Democrat. Pete Buttigieg. Newsome. Shapiro. Tim Walz. Someone got mad at me for saying Walz. Not Waltz, but Walls. I want Tim Walz. I want all of them on every podcast all the time. Not some of the podcasts, some of the time. All of the podcasts, all of the time. Screaming about this because polling reveals people don't even know this is happening. Which feels crazy to me. Cowpoke Ranch said that congressman is an evil POS. But I don't like how people make fun of how he speaks and southern rural people in general. Tired of us all being generalized and made fun of for who we are. I get that. I really do. I'm also from the South. I had a much thicker accent back in my day, but I transitioned out of it. That was my trans story, was unsouthering my voice. But I love it. My mom, did y'all hear the phone call with my mom? She has that accent. I have to do it. I'm sorry. Like, I love you, and I really hope this doesn't cause a rift. Please, guys. I get that there are some impressions I can't do. Okay, I know, and I won't. I don't know why we make these arbitrary lines, but there are certain ones I can't do. But I feel like a group that I also am a part of, please, white Southern people, that's my people. In terms of, that sounded weird. In terms of who grew up with. I don't know how y'all expect me to do humor if I can't do impressions. I have to do impressions. And the Southern one's one of the easier ones for me to do. And like Biden, can I not do Biden? I'm not making fun of that. Yeah, I kind of, but listen, folks, when I do that, is it upsetting? Or Trump? We're gonna wait, let me see. Wait. Pass the bill, so good. If I do that, is it annoying? I just don't understand. I'm not making fun of the people, overgeneralizing. I'm making fun of the person. And I'm trying to have fun. So I hope that's not, because I am going to keep doing it. Because otherwise, if I do where every single thing that could be portrayed as making fun of anything, even when like there's nothing bad about Southern accent, it just kind of sounds funny whenever I do it after they did it. Because that's not how I normally am speaking. So it's like, oh, I get it. He's being Tim. Or he's being Marge. Then how else am I going to get any giggles out of y'all? I don't know. Nettie said, seen a post with a list of all the state medical programs. It said a lot of states don't know that they are Medicaid and will get hit. Exactly. Like Medi-Cal is what it's called in California, if I'm not mistaken. And you have different versions that are being funded by Medicaid, and that's what's going to be cut. But people don't even know that it's going to happen. They're going to lose their coverage because it's called something else in their state. Raining said, hey buddy, I listen to your videos from Newfoundland and Canada. Keep up what's going on in America. My heart goes out to you all and thank you for what you do. Keep on keeping on. I appreciate you all. Here is another example of now Marsha Blackburn, who I won't do the impression of because she also has a Southern accent. But that's me. What? It's like the safe zone because it's me. Also being very concerned about the debt.
I look at my grandsons and I see this as a generational issue and a moral issue. Is it right to be passing this debt on to them? And the answer is no. I look at my grandsons.
Sorry, I'm just here going to quickly ban somebody. Let me see. How do I even hide user on the channel? There we go. Someone kept posting the white race stands with Trump. Well, that's nasty. Very strange. Very strange. And the name, it was a very weird name for the account too. Banned. Boom. Multitasking. Yeah, so now I guess she's not concerned with that. Then you have Lisa McLean being asked, is it really a necessary time to give tax cuts to wealthy folks?
But are you also comfortable with millionaires getting additional tax breaks?
Listen, I believe that everybody, whether you're middle income, upper income, it doesn't matter. I believe people are better stewards of their money than the federal government. The federal government is not efficient. It is not effective with taxpayer dollars. Hence, we're $36 trillion in debt, right? I believe in people. I believe that we shouldn't give the government a pay raise. I actually believe we should give people a pay raise. And that's the difference in the strategy between the Democrats and the...
I'm so sick of that. Because it sounds so nice and fun, right? I don't want to give tax increase, or I don't want to give, what she say, a raise to the government. I want to give it to you. Let me ask you, do you want a raise, or do you want the government to get a raise? As you're going to lose money. It's so sick. It sounds so nice cerebrally. Yeah, wait, what? Give the people, give the people, yes, get it. But then you think about you go 2 layers deeper. First of all, the question was about rich folks specifically. And everyone likes the idea of no taxes, until you figure out what that would do. Because if she actually meant that as a fundamental principle, then she would believe that we should just give all the money to the people, don't ever tax on anything, and then see what happens. But then poverty would shoot up through the roof. Crime would shoot up through the roof. We wouldn't be able to defend ourselves with our military. No one would get their social security checks. Our infrastructure would be shit. Our schools would be terrible. People would go uneducated. You would walk down the street and somebody would just come up and start humping you every time you went down the street. Right? My point is that even if you think, that wouldn't affect me, I don't care if other people are in poverty. To try to personalize it to you, I'm just saying you generally, not saying Lisa McLean necessarily, but you would be less safe. Your economy would collapse. You wouldn't feel safe, which I already said, but I'm saying again, because they seem to care about that specifically and not the poverty of others. So that's kind of how you have to think of this. Because every person who acts like, I just generally trust people more with their money than the government, don't then ever say what that would mean for the people. Because let's go real philosophical for a second. Think 100 people get together and you're all living together out on an island. And you're somehow making money in some way. And then you go, it would be nice to have an organization that protected us from if any of the 100 tries to attack another one of us. What if we set that up? All right, now what if we set up an organization that helped to make sure if any of us got sick, we had some sort of treatment on this island? Now let's set, and then you just end up building something that you have to fund with something, money, that collectively you do that with, and that's the government. So these nice statements fall apart whenever you actually think about the outcomes of them. And she wasn't asked about random folks who need a pay raise. She was talking about people who already have so much money. Gunboat said the guy who ran on destroying the government is destroying the government. It's brilliant if you don't think about it. Yeah, exactly right. Watching from the UK, hoping people, this is Tony, hoping you come to their senses soon. Thick seems crazy to us, even though we have Nigel Farage here trying to climb into Trump's diaper. Yeah, Nigel's a special one. Jake said, if the bill gets signed into law, can the next president change or remove anything from this ugly bill? Or is it all locked in indefinitely? I'll answer that in a second. And then Christopher McLean said, keep doing the Southern accent. I'm from the South. These people are why Southerners get made fun of. Thank you for your attention to this matter. But again, just like how if I do like a sort of more feminine sounding voice after a woman speaks, or I do a more flamboyant voice for fun, or what else? Or I do Biden's voice. It's just to just lean in and have fun. You know my intentions. The thing that can get weird with humor is when you feel like someone's using humor as cover for actual disdain they have. But if you watch the show, you get to know me. You know where I stand. So just have fun with it. Just have fun with it. Kiwi Girl said, could we play with coconuts? Could pay with coconuts. Sorry. Gotcha. Yes, true, on the island. Victoria said the bill is giving ICE 10K hiring bonuses and over $100 billion in general to become secret police. So now let me answer the question about a future president that was asked. It's not like through executive order they could just undo all of this. But whenever they propose, which they absolutely would and should, a future Democratic president could come in and replenish the funding levels, dismantle, right? Unravel. They could ravel the programs back together. But this is why people have been saying we need an aggressive Democrat, because the damage that's going to be done, like the other super chatter said, the destruction of the government by the guy who promised to destroy the government, was done so disgustingly effectively and so quickly, and we're only a little while into it. And so the next Democrat needs to be as aggressive in fixing things and more as Trump was at breaking them. But it's going to be tough. So yeah, it's not going to be a quick fix, but in their big reconciliation bill, as they propose funding levels, they'd have to make up for these changes. But that means years. At minimum, a couple years before people would have the support made up for. Tony said, I need a chat moderator. That's true. Red Turtle said Democrats should agree that Republicans are cutting taxes, but call it defunding the police policy since there would now be less money for that. True. You know what's crazy? We talked about how Biden oversaw the largest federal investment in public safety, including law enforcement. And what will happen is the same party that screamed about the left wanting to defund the police actually will be responsible for funding decreases on the federal level for law enforcement. Fascinating. There is a Republican congressman from California, David Valado, and he posted not too long ago, this is June 28th. I've been clear, he writes, from the start, that I will not support a final reconciliation bill that makes harmful cuts to Medicaid, puts critical funding at risk, or threatens the stability of healthcare providers across California's 22nd district. I will not support. Can you guess if he supported or not this bill? As of now, he's supportive. David Valado has voted yes on the rule, Jake Sherman reports. It's now 208 and 216 with 8 still outstanding. Gavin Newsome responded, because he's the governor of California. This is a California congressman. Bookmark this. 64% of Congressman Valado's district relies on Medicaid. 64%. And then he spoke on this after being asked by a reporter. Before playing this, anyone watching, thank you all so much for being here. If you jumped in a little late, I appreciate you. Everyone who's not and who can be a member, click the join button below. After this clip, there's going to be a bunch of them. I'm having this good feeling. And I'll thank all of you. It's somewhere next to the subscribe button. You hit it. You become a member. Yesterday's bonus show, I literally figured out the meaning of life. You think I'm joking. I literally figured out the meaning of life. The members in the audience can say, if they watched yesterday's bonus show, they can attest to that. I figured it out on the bonus show. So get it. I mean, what? $5 for the meaning of life? That's the deal of the century. What the hell? What the hell happened to JD?
This is a generational theft to pay for tax cuts that billionaires and corporations, in many cases, aren't even asking for. It's vanity. And it's devastating to the economies and to the people of this country, not just the state of California, and not just to those representatives that you just highlighted.
You had a similar message when we talked about this on Friday about Valado, and then soon after you spoke, he put out a statement saying he was going to vote against it. But this morning he was seen at the White House. What do you make of that?
I have no faith in that. But as I said, he might as well resign early, and I could call a special election if he supports it. Sincerely. I mean, on what basis do you have of trust in your own district if you would betray your own constituency to such extraordinary degree? I mean, it's one of the poorest districts in the country. It's going to be devastated, has been devastated by the impacts of climate change and droughts, floods, fires, the impacts to the agricultural community that he's participated in with these raids and these assaults on our diverse community.
Yeah, so he's saying he might as well just resign. And I am seeing some people mention that they can't afford it. Don't feel any guilt. You don't have to say sorry or anything like that. Just watch all the free content we do, and that is enough. That is absolutely enough, and I appreciate you. Just the same, Nathan Avila, became a member. Alan Hinkle became a member. Appreciate you. Let's see here. Oh, no, I clicked it. It went away. there was a super chat. I'm sorry if I missed some super chats. Breaking generational curse. I work with an insurance company, and many physicians are no longer accepting HMO plans. They want only PPO. This is a way of eliminating Medicaid. Yeah, Granny Noodles said, thanks for all you do. So I was having this thought too about Newsom saying, just resign to this Republican David Valado. We talked about this yesterday. If you go in and you have these stances, right? I'm not going to rip away healthcare for my constituents. I'm not going to blow up the debt. And then you cave on all of them just because you're scared of Trump. What are you even doing there? I'm not even saying that like, how do you sleep at night? That too. But I'm not saying it to be provocative or rhetorically effective. I'm genuinely curious how their brain works. Because I would at least, even if I had to make some tough decisions and do a little deal here so that I can get something I care about, I would want to feel like I left Congress and actually accomplished something for people and left feeling like, yes, I did something positive. Because it's not like being in Congress is the sexiest job ever. I mean, what about this? Ted Cruz clearly wants to do this more than he wants to do Senate. How much he's podcasting. But they do that. And so what is the point? If you're just going to cave on all of your purported principles and do something you don't actually believe in at all, you're going to leave feeling like you did all that. You knocked doors, you campaigned, you went for all of it. Oh my gosh. All just to cave. I don't get it. It's a brain bender for sure. This next clip is really funny. John Little became a member. I appreciate you oh so very much. Rachel Brill upgraded the membership. I did see that somebody gifted memberships, but it disappeared. We don't have the staff here today other than just me and Cole, so I have less assistance in grabbing and sending screenshots of those. I do apologize, but thank you to that person who sent a gifted membership. All right, James Comr here had something to say, and his good buddy Jared Moskowitz had a funny response.
So you've got members that are concerned about that. Then you have members that are concerned about the changes to Medicaid. I'm honestly concerned about some of the changes to Medicaid. But what we've been able to do, Sean, is negotiate a year and a half before implementation. That'll give states like Kentucky that greatly expanded Medicaid an opportunity to go in and look at their Medicaid rolls. There are people on Medicaid in America who are here illegally. They're receiving free health care. There are people on Medicaid who look like me. They're able-bodied, and they're receiving free health care. They're not.
To which Jared Moskowitz said, there's no one here that would describe him as able-bodied. Brutal. Hey, Jared, that's mean. That's mean, and I denounce it. Vanessa Laniker upgraded their membership. Motor said if you came up with any answer other than 42 for the meaning of life, then you discovered nothing. Okay. Yeah, so lots of lies. This is not, they're not saving all this money by getting off undocumented immigrants. Sorry. Removing undocumented immigrants, I should say, from Medicaid. I'm sorry. Sometimes I just hear something and it's so dumb. It's so dumb. Getting off on how are you getting? It's just whatever, you know? But that's not how it's happening. We looked at the numbers. This is by removing millions of U.S. citizens and reducing millions of U.S. citizens' benefits. This is by rural hospitals having to close. This is by people not having money for food stamps. That's the only way you could mathematically get to the number that they put in the bill. That's the only way. So it's all big red herring when they bring up able-bodied, this, that, or the other thing. Whether or not you think James Comr gives able-bodied. I think he's very able-bodied, is my stance. But Jared Moskowitz had a different one, and he knows him better. I can't speak to their friendship. He knows him on a personal level better. I don't. Then you have Mike Johnson saying he will keep it open as long as needed.
Mr. Speaker, how long do you plan on keeping the vote open? Chad, I think he talked about the record being over 7 hours. I'll go back to him in a minute. Or, are you just going to keep it open as long as it takes?
Well, I'll keep it open as long as it takes to make sure we've got everybody here and accounted for and all the questions answered. I made that commitment to my members. You know, we're in an era of Congress where we have small margins, small majorities, and that makes it by necessity a bottom-up institution. You know, it's not a couple leaders in a back.
Haley said, seriously, Luke, can't mod even for Super Chat? Bye. What? I don't understand. I feel like I've read all the Super Chats. I was just warning in case I missed it. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. That sounded mean. It felt mean. Oh, I played that because he said I'll keep it open as long as it takes, and Keith Edwards said Pride Month is over. Speaker Johnson, I don't know. That wasn't even, I don't know. Gavin Newsome said Mike Johnson would hate for you to know that nearly 40% of his district is on Medicaid, or that 1.6 million Louisianans, about 35% of the state, rely on it. It would be terrible if this information went viral. Then he said Mike Johnson's so desperate for Donald Trump's approval, he's selling out 40% of his own district. What a small, pathetic man. I'm telling you, every podcast, all the time, we need these voices. It needs to happen very quickly. All right, let's watch this Fox News clip real quick.
And let's keep fighting.
Yeah. Monica Paige, I want to bring you back into the conversation. You've been kind of watching this. You heard from Anna Paulina Luna and some other Congress people about this. Is there anything that you'd like to add to this conversation that we might be leaving out?
Yeah, well, I just think it's interesting that all of a sudden people voted for Thomas Massie. Like, I don't remember voting for Thomas Massie with this. I remember voting for Donald Trump to get this bill passed. And I feel like a lot of Americans who voted for Donald Trump feel the same way, especially not only with Thomas Massie, but a lot of the other Republicans who are kind of leaning towards no. They didn't vote for these Congress people. They voted for President Trump. They voted.
I'm really curious what they think. Let me ask her this. Monica is her name. Monica, how did Thomas Massie get into Congress? Let me just think. Wait. Think. Someone had to vote for him. How do they think the government works? Like you're only elected as a Republican to follow the orders of the president if they get elected? Do they ever say that? Oh, wow. Ooh. This makes me so angry. Whenever Biden was trying to get something done and Republicans voted against it, did they ever go, Americans elected Biden, so why would Republicans oppose him? Never. And Biden won a hell of a lot more popular votes than Trump did. It's so upsetting. Like, do you remember? I'm curious if they say this as a talking point, but they know it's kind of silly. Do you remember the whole like separation of powers thing? Checks and balances, different branches of government. There's something from like 1 to 6 branches of government. You can take your guess. Somewhere in that orbit. I'm not going to give the answer away. Do you remember? So why do you think we have those 3 different branches of government if they're not to be used at all? If it's all just supposed to fall in line to the president if the people elect him. No, the president gets elected by the people. Thomas Massie gets elected by his district. All the Congress members get elected by their district, and then they get to make their decision on what they want to do, which gives push and pull and allows no one to become too powerful. That's the whole idea. Why am I explaining this to you, Monica? Jennifer V, thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate you. Grace Coughlin has been a member for a month and said, if you haven't done so yet, please call your representatives and remind them that they were elected to their position. Yeah, I guess they need that reminder. Do you know that you have power too? Yeah, it's not as much as Trump's, but if you put together everyone in your caucus, it is as much as Trump's. Sarah said, what you do, how do you stay sane keeping up with it all? That's a good question. Cole, Jaden, Kayla, Chloe, Zoe, Lily. Am I missing anybody? I think I nailed it. And then friends outside of the show. People and pizza. People and pizza. No, really, the way is genuinely people. And that would be my advice to you. Find people that make you happy and have fun with them and shut it out from time to time. I don't shut it out from time to time, but you probably should because I do have down days because I don't. And then we just try through humor, through Southern accents sometimes. We try to make fun out of everything, and sometimes that makes some people kind of uncomfortable. I get it, for sure, but that's kind of how I do it. John said the real news here is that you don't know Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah, there's a lot of things I've learned through these live streams that I don't know. Cowpoke Ranch said, sorry, Luke, I didn't realize you were a Southern man. In that case, top of the morning to you, Bubba. Remember, don't be afraid to be who you really are. That's sweet. Thank you. I appreciate you. I just love y'all. What a great group of people. You know how yesterday we talked about Jim Jordan saying, I know this bill is good because Democrats hate it, which is just the sickest, most depraved justification to give to ruining millions of Americans' lives, including in his district. Now you have another congressman, Mediaite's reporting on, who voted against Trump's bill, but now will vote for it to own the libs. Democrats' reaction helped to persuade me. Warren Davidson announced on Wednesday that he will now support the Trump-backed Big Beautiful Bill, which he voted against in May in an effort to own the Democrats. I gotta say, no one puts together a deal like Trump. He's a master. But I think one of the other things, this is quotes from Davidson, was just looking at the Democrats' reaction to it. Maybe the bill is better than I thought. Democrats' reaction helped persuade me that, wow, maybe this bill does do some really good things. Wow. That's really sick. And you are, I would love to know, how do I word this? Let me put it this way. Does one of your brain cells ever have a buddy to go to a bar with? You know what I mean? Like, let me say it this way. If one of your brain cells goes through a breakup, do they have anyone to call? Do they have a friend? That's insane. Maybe the bill's better than I thought because Democrats hate it. Like, imagine, let's go to the furthest extreme, okay? Imagine there was a bill that said nuke the entire world just for fun. Act of 2025. And if Democrats all went, we hate that, would that make you go, maybe we should nuke everyone? Is that really how basic your brain is? How do you do basic things in your life? Like, do you decide what food you like based off of if your Democratic friends like it or not? They're living way too rent-free in your brain. You don't know if you love your wife unless a Democrat hates your wife? What? All right, let's... Screaming into the void, says Sweet Cheeks. Yeah, you know. But sometimes the screaming, it matters. Let's keep screaming. That's my belief. Let's keep screaming. Because MAGA screamed a lot during Biden and they ended up winning. I think if we scream enough, people will get fed up and they will vote against this party. Do y'all know Dr. Phil? Dr. Phil is a guy who likes to do the I'm not right wing, but I go out on ICE raids and I fearmonger about wokeness and stuff. And he started an AntiWoke television network. Now, imagine for a second, if you will, who would watch that, right? Who would watch it? I'm just wondering. Not me, just who would watch it? Well, apparently not many people. Mediaite says Dr. Phil's AntiWoke television network files for bankruptcy. Shocker. That's a shocker. I thought this was going to be the next Fox News. Sue's Christian Trinity Broadcasting Network. So it looks like they have $100 million in assets and $500 million in liabilities. Oh, eek. And they're suing Christian Trinity Broadcast Network, who was supposed to distribute the network. They are accusing them of not following through on their commitments. and abusing its position as the controlling shareholder pay or incur obligations to third parties in excess of $100 million. That's still not going to get you out of your hole, but all right. And let me go back to an interview that David Pakman did, friend of the show, David Pakman, from the David Pakman Show, formerly known as the David Pakman Show. And he interviewed David Pakman. Yeah. That's just exactly where I wanted that to go. Dr. Phil. And I want you all to just get a vibe off of Dr. Phil, because it makes pretty clear why his network didn't succeed.
Today we'll be speaking with Phil McGraw.
That's it. That's it. Moving on. No.
McGraw, also known as Dr. Phil, host of Dr. Phil Prime Time on Merritt Street Media, and author of the new book, We've Got Issues, How You Can Stand Strong for America's Soul and Sanity. You know, I'm very interested to speak to you today because in preparation for our interview, I've been watching some of the Fox News appearances.
You just can't, you know? I don't know why people who have been in the media as long as him don't figure out how to just like look normally into a camera. Just look. Ready? Go. You see, I'm just looking. Like as if you were a person, but you're not. Well, you are, but that's not what I'm seeing. But instead it's like, how does that come off as natural to you?
Because in preparation for our interview, I've been watching some of the Fox News appearances, looking at the book, etc. I never really saw you as a guy who delved into political issues per se. You seem more willing, interested, and I must say, maybe more conservative than I thought you were. Is that a fair assessment?
Not at all.
Okay.
Because I am so not political, you can't even believe it. And I'll tell you why. I know nothing about politics. And, and I know why you say that. It sounds like it.
Right.
I talk about...
Okay. He went on throughout this interview to then make a claim that like a bunch of professors had been fired for not being woke enough or something. And then David was like, well, who? And he was like, let me see if we can skip to that. Because then Dr. Phil ended up not being able to produce the examples.
Particularly among our young people, is that we make sure that our parents are involved in our kids' lives so they don't get started in even misdemeanor crime right now.
That's
shoplifting.
For sure.
Shoplifting is up, and these are misdemeanors, a lot of which don't get prosecuted.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to find the spot, but he ended up doing like this really softball interview with Trump, and then starting an AntiWoke Network, and that really just. It bothers me when people like be right wing if you want to be right wing, great, like fine, totally fine. You could say I don't know much, but I think that it just irritates me when people do the no, I don't do politics at all, but the woke mind virus is going to end America. It's like, stop, just be honest. It's fine to have a position. Just have a position. There's woke stuff that goes too far that I've called out, sure, but have a position or don't. But then don't do a bunch of coverage of news like you do know what you're talking about, or don't go interview the president and I don't want to say that, and pleasure him. You know, that sounds like I'm saying something weirder than I am. All right, what has Sean Diddy Combs been convicted of? Oh goodness. Now, speaking of things that people don't know about, as y'all know from watching this show, this is not something I've kept up with a ton. There's not really a clear political component to it, but it has garnered so much attention, and the verdict is so baffling. It seems so wrong from a preliminary assessment. The trial of American music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, who was accused of running a sprawling sex trafficking operation, has ended with 2 guilty verdicts and an acquittal on 3 others. The rapper was convicted on 2 counts of transportation for prostitution of his ex-girlfriend and another woman known as Jane. He was found not guilty of the most serious charge of racketeering conspiracy, as well as 2 charges of sex trafficking in relation to Miss Ventura and Jane. So from what I did keep up with this, I don't know if they brought the wrong, I don't know what happened here. And the good thing is it does seem he's still going to have to go to prison for a significant period of time. But there's so much that he so obviously did that these convictions seem so limited or exclusionary of, which is confusing. And then even more confusing is, I guess he had supporters outside in front of the courthouse. Like, this is one of those things where, unlike the last time we talked about supporters of somebody after a trial, very different. In this case, even if you believe he didn't do some advanced sex trafficking, racketeering thing, what we know he did, like being on video assaulting a woman, on video that he then paid the hotel to give to him so that they wouldn't bring it to the police, which then ran out the clock on the I'm blanking, the statute of limitations. So, which, by the way, how is that not in the law that if you covered up the evidence, then you can be prosecuted even if it's past the statute of limitations? Maybe I'm wrong on the legality of that, but that's what I heard mentioned as to why that wasn't a part of this. But you know he's a bad guy, right? Right? Am I going crazy? But I guess he has supporters and they were all spilling baby oil over each other because they were happy he wasn't convicted. Or are they not supporters?
Been proper and etiquette that is happening inside of a courtroom. No, instead, I kid you not, people are pouring baby oil on one another outside this courthouse. Baby oil having a very big play in the freak-offs we heard about. You have people saying it's not Rico, it's Frico. You got applause coming when the mother of Sean Diddy Combs, Miss Janice, got out of the vehicle just a few moments ago, really, behind us and walked inside to elated cheers and her greeting the crowd. Every time the family, the children, the 6 adult children come in, 3 boys and 3 girls, they are met by cheers, and also at times throughout the course of trial, met by scathing and disrespectful comments as well. A lot of,
kid you not, people are pouring baby oil on each other outside the courtroom. We're here. Welcome. Hi. I imagine some person who like was totally out of the loop, living in some rural town in Poland. I don't know. Just like a kid, and they grow up and they don't listen to politics at all, and then they decide they're gonna move to the United States, and they show up here, and all they've heard is sort of the historic, iconic legacy, right? How America's perceived by a lot of our allies. It used to be. They think, I'm gonna go to the United States of Mother Loving America. I'm gonna do it. Land of opportunity. And they show up. They land at Newark Airport, drive over to where they're staying in New York, and pass the courtroom and see people pouring baby oil over each other, celebrating Sean Diddy Combs' lack of conviction on the most serious charges while he was still convicted on other charges. And just welcome to him, like that being their hello, welcome, New York, greatest city in the world. Here we are. And then they turn on the TV and Trump's bills being litigated. Oh my gosh. I promise we can be better than this. I promise. If you just got here, Polish student, we're better than this, I think. And that's where I'm going to leave it, on that note. If you do ever find yourself pouring baby oil all over yourself, celebrating Diddy's trial outcome. But again, do we know they're supporters, or could they be like, woo, he got convicted of something, he's going to have to go to jail? I think it was like you could do 10 years for either transportation for prostitution. And so if they do it concurrently, it could just be 10 years and then parole. I don't know when that would be. Doesn't seem very, very long. But if they do it consecutively, maybe it's a little longer. But it would have been like life in prison if he had gotten convicted of all the other stuff. And are people being like, yay, baby oil, he's going to jail? I don't understand the logic necessarily. Yay, he's going to jail, baby oil. I think they were supporters. And so if you find yourself there in life, just ask yourself, what? That's where I'll leave it. Appreciate all of you. I'll talk to you next time.